Hi writers! Today we're doing session 8, editing using all you know. I want to remind you that writers use all they know and all they have, relying on the resources at their disposal to put their final touches on their drafts. But I also want to teach you that when writers edit, they don't necessarily just simply fix a misspelled word or add a missing period. Instead, they continue to look for ways to outgrow themselves, this time by lifting the level of their conventions. When you are going to be meeting with your partner and peer editing today using the argument checklist, I want you to look for places in your writing where you could say a little more that might help clarify what you're saying to the reader, either by explaining things a bit further or giving a little more pertinent backstory. Um, so I've given you guys this argument writing checklist, and it's laid out for you to either mark that yes, this is evident in each section is evident in your story, or your essay, I'm sorry, and or you're starting to have this in your essay, or no, not yet, you haven't gotten there. So the first one is I laid out an argument about a topic or text that made it clear what my particular argument is and that it's important and valid. So you guys are arguing a theme that you think appears multiple times throughout your short story. So you want to maybe even acknowledge a counter argument, but really just drive home those points that you have, that text evidence. For the lead, you have a hook. I gave you very specific guidelines about what I wanted your hook to look like in your graphic organizer. So make sure that it also transitions smoothly into your introduction paragraph. We worked really hard on transitions, that you are going to transition to lead the reader across parts of the text and help the reader note how parts of the text relate back to other parts. Go back and check and make sure that you used, 8th grade transitions, that were not just jumping, that your paper's not choppy, you're not just jumping from one thought to the other without smoothly transitioning your reader. And then also in the ending, that you wrote a conclusion, you described the significance of your argument, and offered additional insights, implications, questions, or challenges. Now, the next page talks a little bit more about your organization. Did you have an organized claim and counterclaims and reasons and evidence? So in the idea that you're using, you're talking about theme. Did you organize your text evidence? Did it go in sequential order of when it happened in the story? And did you really elaborate to make sure you connected that text evidence back to your theme? The next thing on organization is I created an organizational structure that, sorry, I can't read today, that supports a reader's growing understanding across the whole of my argument, arranging the sections to build on each other in a logical, compelling fashion. Remember, we talked about logic and how we pick 2 points that connect to each other, thus resulting in a third point. So make sure that you're connecting the dots for your reader and that you're really getting them to draw the same conclusion about the theme as you are. And then with elaboration, I brought out aspects of the argument that were most significant to my audience and my overall purpose. I incorporated trustworthy and significant sources, which would be this is kind of referring to an argument paper where you would have outside sources, but in this situation you would have text evidence. I analyzed the relevance of the reasons and the evidence for my claims as well as counterclaims and helped the reader understand what each position is saying. I made sure all of my analysis led my readers to follow my line of argument. So everything's tying back to the theme you've selected. And then on the last page, we're going to talk a little bit more about crafting conventions. And with craft, I intended to affect my reader in particular ways to make the reader think, realize, or feel a particular way. I chose language to do that. Also under writer's craft, I consistently used comparisons, analogies, vivid examples, anecdotes, and other rhetorical devices to help readers follow my thinking and grasp the meaning and significance of a point or a piece of evidence. This might be something that we need to go add back in. When I read over rough drafts, I only found a couple of people that really did this consistently. So this could be something you and I have a conversation about, or you and your partner for peer editing, what that looks like. I varied my tone to match the different purposes of different sections of my argument paper. And then the last part is conventions. I spelled technical vocabulary and literary vocabulary accurately. I spelled materials and citations according to the sources, and I spelled citations accurately. I used different sentence structures to achieve different purposes throughout my argument. I used verb tenses that shifted when needed, as in when moving from a citation back to my own writing, I decided between active and passive voice where it was appropriate. So remember, we've talked about present tense and past tense. And I used internal punctuation effectively, including the use of ellipsis to accurately insert excerpts from the sources. So we need to use this checklist when we're peer editing and make sure that we're not just having conversation with our partners, that we're really trying to work hard to make our papers better. Because I will be looking at the checklist and looking for these things. So today and every day, make sure you're effectively editing your papers with your peers and you're having good conversation about not only the conventions but the content. I can't wait to read your writing.